Hello, and welcome to Twisted Lily's latest episode. And this is a very exciting interview because today we have Christopher Chong in the room with us from Thameen. So let's dive right in. Hi.
Hi.
I'm excited, to say the least. How is your tour going?
Today was the first full day of activities and has been very, very exciting.
Some old faces, some new faces, familiar faces. I'm sure it's nice to be back in New York.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. I've been with Euro Perfumes for so long and we have so much history going way back.
All right.
I feel it's like really coming home. Yeah.
That sounds really good, because I know that New York is very close to your heart.
Yes.
And maybe just one day you're going to be, a resident here, like a full-time resident. That would be really nice. And I can see a lot of trips to the Metropolitan. Just saying.
Is that a date?
Yes. Christopher really need an introduction. I think he is a legend. Many of you know him. I'm assuming most of you know him.
Who? Where is he? Where's the legend?
But just in case, we're gonna kind of start with the opening question. So you can dive in a little bit into the background, kind of like how your journey started. How did you get into the world of perfumes and how did you end up at Thameen?
As everything in life, it's just by chance. I never knew that there were jobs in the perfume industry. I just thought there was some, it just appeared in department store counters. And so I just didn't know. So there was no planning or anything. I come from a very artistic background. I come from a literary background. I did literature and comparative literature for, at college. And then I went into music, classical music, and that seems so long ago. And so I didn't do chemistry. I was really bad in chemistry. And so there was no preparation. The only thing I can say, maybe all the mistakes I made in my life, all the mess ups, were my preparations.
I like that. I like the sound of that.
And so I joined a company by chance nearly 20 years ago. I was very, very fortunate. I was at the right place at the right time when niche was so amazing. It was the birth of niche perfumery. We had all these amazing opportunities to be so super creative without having to worry too much about the marketing or the commercial elements. It was just about, creating new sensations and feelings and olfactory experiences. So I was very, very fortunate, and it all takes a bit of luck. And I was very lucky that I got a lot of people supporting me. I had a lot of perfumers who believed in me. I got the commercial teams, like especially Euro Perfumes, who they don't always understand what I do, but they were extremely supportive. Moving forward the journey, I left the industry, decided that I need a break. That it was before COVID. And it was a good break for me. It was the first time I'm able to look into my life, wake up every morning without a schedule. Without a schedule telling me you have to be in that country by next week, you have to be so-and-so, you have to do such and such an interview, and what about your rework with perfumers, what about the marketing and everything, imageries. It was so nice that having those 2 years, it's a 2-year break, that I'm able to wake up without any direction. I know that sounds weird. I am a planner. And it's for the first time in my life, I didn't have to plan, that I didn't know what was happening. And so I was in the countryside in England. It was so refreshing to experience every single day, fresh air, beautiful sceneries, and enjoy nature. And then I was able also to do things that I never thought I would ever do. I started baking. I started baking cakes. Every single day I have a project. I follow YouTube recipe, and I will bake a cake or bake bread. And that was really an exciting moment for me, that I was able to enjoy little things, small things like that I didn't care about. I just go to a bakery to buy a cake, I order it online. But this time I was able to make something for myself and enjoy simple things. Even doing housework, that became enjoyable. Then I got fat from all the cakes. I had to lose 20 pounds, or else your perfume said to me, you will not be able to do our social media. So okay, I said yes. And then I got a call from a brand that I have always known for since 2013. Apart from doing what I do, I need to know who our peers are, who our other brands are. So I have always known about Thameen. And during that break, I gave myself, a lot of moments to think about what about the future. Is this future about just baking cakes, and smelling fresh air? I thought, no, I feel the industry has changed a lot. That it's not what I used to do. Niche is not my definition of niche anymore. I want to challenge myself. I want to have that opportunity to start niche again under a different scope. That's what I did. Yes, it was the old ways of doing things. But now I saw all these new brands and kids coming into the industry. I felt like I still have a bit of energy in me that I still want to take on the challenge and learn from them. I want to learn from them how to do things their ways, for the current market and the current style, So I sent out a message to the universe. I'm not being superstitious here, but I sent out a message to the universe by saying, oh God, can someone give me an offer? Come to me. But not just anyone. I want to work for a British brand because for all those years I worked for a Arabic brand. So I sent out a message to the universe. I want to work for a British brand. Well,
the universe responded.
Be careful what you wish for. I got a call just asking me what I'm doing and would I be interested in a brand called Thameen. Do I know it? I said, of course I know it. Thameen was exclusive only to Selfridges since 2013 for nearly 8 years before they went into Harrods a couple of years ago. And then they told me there's a new management team and some faces. So I just thought interesting. Is that good or bad? Same faces. The same people haunting me again. I don't know if it's good or not. So I was like, well, let's have a talk. So we had a talk and that's how it got started. That I just felt after the talk, I still have a lot to learn to do things a new way and to learn how to do social media the new way, because in my days it was a lot easier. It was only Facebook and some blogs. Yes, there was no live.
Today it's crazy.
There was no looking at the angle. Oh, I need to find the light. It was nothing like that at all. It was a lot easier in terms of social media. So I just thought, I also noticed there's a new aesthetic. And there's a new market that's coming into, the scene. Like there's a new demographics, which I hope we can talk about a bit later. These kitties.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about the kitties.
Yeah. So I just feel, I say it's a whole brave new world for me, and it's a challenge, and I love challenge. And obviously, I don't want to do the same old things again. And I think this is a good opportunity to be able to work for a brand that shares the same values as me. I believe in diversity. From day one, I've been brought up in Western countries, and obviously I'm not, I'm an outsider, I'm a foreigner, so it has always meant a lot to me. So for a brand that embraces diversity in the UK and the United Kingdom, in Britain, it is truly an amazing opportunity that I don't want to give up. I want to embrace it.
I love that that you were able to take that creative break, that I think it was very liberating for a second, or for whatever time that you were able to take off to just do whatever you want, bake cakes, bake bread, take a walk in a garden with no schedule. Do you feel like your creative vision from the time before has changed throughout your career? Now that your approach, has it changed? Or do you feel like you're still kind of dipping into the same resources internally? Like, where do you draw inspiration from? Or it's something completely different?
I think it's an evolution. There are changes. In the past, I was given a brief to take the brand with a lot of international influences and cultural influences, and to take that into the international level. That was my brief. But then now I just feel, because I have all these experiences, I've done a lot of things that I'm extremely proud of, that I don't need to prove it anymore. I think in the past, right, when I was a nobody, I was seriously a nobody. I have done interviews with people when I first started off asking me, who do you think you are? Who the hell do you think you are? You know? But I learned from all those experiences now that I felt in the past I had a lot to prove. I had to make a mark for myself. I have to make sure that it's truly artistic, even though it may probably sell 10 bottles a year. It has to make a point, make a mark. I felt a lot of pressure. I think I was so about this bubble was about going to burst. But now I feel a lot more relaxed. I feel like, in terms of the style, it's much more natural now. It comes much more natural to me now, that I don't need to make an effort to be different. I don't care about being different. And I don't care about being trying to be the disruptor. I don't. I am much more comfortable in my own skin now. That, I think, my style reflects that. You know, if I do want to do something that somebody has done before, I say, so what? It's my interpretation. If it's a style, a kind of ingredients that another person has done, I say, yeah, you know, I take it on, and I'm going to give it my own interpretation or my own twist, and I'm not too worried about it. In the past, I was very, very worried about how people feel about my work. You know, sometimes it hurts because, you know, social media, a lot of things, it's really painful, and a lot of people don't know that there's a person there. And I had a lot of, despite what you said that I got a lot of love, it was true, I got a lot of love in the past. Thank you to everyone for all the love. But on the same equal amount, I also got a lot of criticism. And being someone who was inexperienced, some of those moments were very difficult to cope with, you know. So those 2-year gap was really good. It gave me the opportunity to reset, to find who I am. I knew it was going to be a bubble that was going to be about to burst, you know, and it allowed me to, during those 2 years, my mental health balance is very important. Thus, I was able to focus a lot more on who I am and on the authenticity. So my style has changed. So in terms of what I do now, yes, I still draw on a lot of inspirations from other social and cultural elements. But all these elements and nuances begins with the personal experience first, and how the personal interpret, take these fragments into forming, creating a new story. So for me now, I just find it a lot more relaxed now.
So I think it's very important that you spoke of mental health and, you know, and the struggles of being exposed to the dark side of social media, because it can bring a lot of support, but it can bring a lot of negativity. And to deal with that, you need to be in the right state of mind, in a healthy, positive, confident state of mind. So do you feel like your creative, you know, vision and this kind of ability to create, to also stay along of what you want to do, what you want to bring to the table, to the picture, and also align with what the changing landscape of the consumer's preferences and taste is like? How do you balance it? Because I feel like with niche, you know, it's a little bit more difficult, you know, with prestige and, you know, just in general designer perfumes, let's say, there's a focus group, there is a very specific line of creation of a product. With niche, you have no constraints, none of that exists. But how do you keep the consumer's preferences in mind and continue bringing to the market things that will get all the love?
That is the $1 million or $1 billion questions.
Isn't it?
If I could give you the answer, I won't be sitting here. I'd be in some kind of island that I have just bought with my resorts. I'd be so minted. Okay, that is. I think it's much more difficult today than when I first entered the industry. Today, consumers have so much information. They can just Google or look up any information they want, and they see all this digital media all around them, right in the handset, in the telephone, in the mobile phone. So I just feel it's a lot more difficult these days. I know a lot of brands do, consumer testing, but even those test results do not guarantee anything anymore. In the old days, when I was doing it, you get a good idea what the consumers want, and you can also work with the perfumers to come up with that product. But now, there is no guarantee. There's no guarantee even for product testing or for working with the most established, well-known master perfumer. That the world has gone into this crazy loop that we just don't know where it's going. It's unpredictable, and the consumers, it's really hard to judge what they want. One day they want one thing, and then another day they do. But then the world of niche has changed so much now. That's post-COVID. It has become totally different definition. In my days, it's all about being different. The meaning of it, showing the artistry, but presenting to the consumer that they don't know what they want yet, and this is what they want. Creating olfactory challenges. That's new sensation. Nowadays, it's not so much that. It just means more the size of your business. And the niche market now is so focused on marketing, just like the prestige. In my days, seriously, it wasn't that much. It was an afterthought. You pour your heart into the product, and that product can one day, hopefully, can sell itself without all the shebangs. But now you need all the additions. Now that niche has moved towards that directions of same marketing as prestige product. So in terms of what the consumer wants, the style, how I can maintain it. Yes, in my heydays, in my good old days, I was known for my maximalism. More is more, and I love it. I don't think I can ever change that. That there is still in me that I believe in it. It's a personal style. You just can't change. It's like an artist. You just can't say that, the market is floating this way, you should change it. Then that is not an artistic product. You are not niche. Don't call yourself niche. You are just a brand. What I do now, I still maintain that integrity. Hopefully people still believe it, that I'm maintaining that integrity, and which is very important to me.
You've been in a business for a long time, and you've been creating gems. And with when you came to Thameen, there were multiple collections that existed. We'll call it BC. Before Christopher. But ever since you stepped on board, you created Insignia, which was one of the Blue Bottles collection and the Sovereign collection, I believe. But then you really stepped into your role fully when you created the Britologne.
Yeah.
Talk about that, because I think you really, just how you brought this new kind of vision to the house, how the bottle changed, and all the ideas behind the cap, behind the bottle, because I thought we recently just did a training, and it was such an immersive experience that I wish we were able to bring all of you with us. And maybe we will one day, perhaps.
Maybe. If you behave yourself?
Yes. Because it was such a full immersion into really just Christopher's mind, and how his, how these situations kind of came, together, and things just aligned. And it was truly just such an amazing experience. So if you can just give us a glimpse into this whole new vision that you brought to the brand.
Well, when I joined, I was given a brief again, it just doesn't happen by magic. I was given a brief to give the brand a stronger, much contemporary and modern British identity. That we embrace heritage, but we want to look at heritage with a very modern perspective. So I thought, that's cool. So when I joined, my first perfume big project was, as you said, Insignia. Insignia, I wanted it to be a transition of what I'm planning to do. that a lot of people know me for my previous style. So it's kind of a transitional phase for me and the brand, how the two will marry together. So in Insignia, you still see a lot of the complications and nuances and all the, maximalism and all the OTT, over the top, more is more. Yeah, that was planned because I still want to, it's almost like I'm showing the world, giving the world a departure, and that is still excellence in my style, in my opinion, in terms of how I imagine a perfume should be. In the meantime, I was also working on a new identity because a brand has to evolve, and that is what the market expects from you now, freshness, and how do you stay apart from all your other competitive brands. So I was working on heritage. I wanted the brand to have a stronger message about Western perfumery. I wanted the world to understand where Western perfumery came from, where British perfumery came from. A lot of us don't know, So I did my research, as always, and I wanted to pay respect to the cologne. Cologne, not as how we see it now, okay? That the original Western perfumery style was cologne. It was created, hundreds of years ago, as a antibacterial spray in Italy. So, and I took that as heritage about the structure and try to learn much more about it. Plus, I also want to do something that I never done before, and the brand Thameen doesn't have. So I just thought that's really interesting to focus on this structure and turn it into a hybrid by combining with the style of eau de parfum and using ingredients from eau de parfum and modern science with the core structure cologne. We can create something that is quite refreshing. And so further research have shown that cologne has immigrated to Britain in 19th century. In the early 19th century. And that was the beginning of British perfumery. And so I just felt, yeah, it works. That I'm actually going back into history to take something forward. And that is my definition of modernity. So then I came up with the name to give me a much more, coherence, much more of a DNA element. So I came up with the name British Cologne. Yes, British Cologne sounds boring. So we combine the words together, Britologne collection.
I love it. I love it. So refreshing. Yeah. And it's such a great collection, unlike anything else.
Thank you.
I do want to touch up on the fact that you really make it a point to say that the collection is genderful.
Yes.
Versus many other brands, they use the word unisex. Yes. But for you, you feel like genderful was more inclusive and and I think that it's a very interesting point to kind of touch upon because we still have brands that are separating men's and women's fragrances, but I think it's incredibly refreshing to see that, and especially in the Britologne collection.
Yes.
That cologne is usually considered, a lot of people still say that. They say, oh, so cologne is for men.
Yes.
And, can I wear it? Can I not? Should I, so there's all these different misconceptions till this day.
Yeah.
So I think it's, what was your idea behind Genderful? Because I think it's very important to kind of pause here for a second and really dive in here.
Yeah. I mean, I was influenced by the time I was in when I was thinking about this collection. It was a time when we were thinking about diversity in terms of our genders. That there were these non-binary and binary, and how all these things reflect about who we are and in our place in society. It was 2 or 3 years ago, or it was a lot of these talks happening, and I always felt that unisex doesn't feel right. Even in the past, I never called it unisex. In the past, I just feel like, okay, please don't shoot me. I feel like unisex means in 1970s hair salon. You see the big sign outside, it's unisex, okay? What does it mean? The question I ask myself, how do you define it? One sex? What does it mean to be one sex? I mean, obviously, we want to be a much more inclusive society. That perfume should not be defined by what gender you are. But I'm sorry, we've been coded since we're born to smell in a certain way by society and by our culture. Certain ingredients, based on where we come from, will smell either feminine or masculine. So you cannot escape that. What do you mean by creating scent and smells that is unisex, just one sex? Yeah. Does it mean it's white and clean and nothing? It smells like air? So I feel, I'm sorry, I've been brought up to know that certain smells goes toward a certain gender. And the gender world has become much more complicated these days. We have more options, and we have to embrace all these options, all these different kinds of genders. They are important part of society, and they make us who we are. And I have to balance it out. I feel we need to balance it out. There's no balance here. So when I put together a project, I never think about it's for man or for woman, I'll just leave it up to the creativity, to the flow. It has to flow. So I think it's much better for me, for my own ease, to call it genderful. That is, I think about all genders. I think about everyone. I just don't think about one gender or two genders or just three genders. I just think about all genders. They are for everyone. And these people, these genders empower me to be responsible, to be able to come up with scents that speak to them. So I just feel I'm much more comfortable. It's for my own ease to call them genderful during the creative process.
It's a great approach and, a great way of thinking. So it's very refreshing to see that. And I remember the first time I smelled Fanfare, the first fragrance in a collection, and it just smelled so incredibly uplifting, different, zesty, juicy, made my mouth water. And one of the things that, besides the fact that it smells like the perfect gin martini to me, and that moment when, the bartender usually twists the lemon wedge, and it just kind of, if there's sunlight, that you're able to see that fine mist that comes from the lemon, and that opening is what it smells like. It's that juicy kind of pulpy lemon. And I remember recently you were describing how it's a different approach now to the whole extraction of the fruit. So I wanted you to dive into that a little bit deeper, because it seems like the new collection is really focused on these natural ingredients that you're trying to focus on. So if you can just dive into that, it's so interesting to me. And when you were describing it, my mouth was watering the whole time.
Why don't we use our Fanfare as my example to describe this process, which is completely with the Britologne collections, it's completely the opposite of what I used to do in the past. I know some people tell me they can still reflections and glimpses of it, but it's a whole new different representation of portrayal of what I do now. I don't want to create something that's completely odd. It's nice to create new sensations, but I don't purposely put myself out that this is so odd that you've never ever smelled it before. Now, my new challenge is I like to take the familiar. And also, I like I love the cologne structure. The cologne structure uses a lot of natural ingredient, with the fruity citrus top, and then herbaceous, and the wood and the base. I love all these naturalness. And in the past, when you have to use a lot of lemon, we have to create a chord, because you cannot apply things that are edible to skin. The science wasn't there yet. So an accord is combining many, many ingredients, the perfumer's secret, to create an impression of what the reality smells like. So every perfumer will have his or her impression. So with Fanfare, Bruno Jovanovic did impressions of the lemon zest and the lemon pulp, and those were accords. That was only probably like 2022 when we work on it. But now there's a new technology, which is not new, but it's being used in perfumery. And I saw it a few months ago. I was blown away by what it can do. Now, This technology, I don't know the exact name. It's really, science is not my forte, okay? Or chemistry is not my forte. Surprise, surprise. So this science has been around since the 60s, but it's only been within a few years they apply it to perfumery, to the extraction of natural ingredient. The best way to describe it is a microwave technology. So they will cut out a certain bit of the fruit, let's say lemon or orange, and they put it into this, conveyor belt that goes into this microwave machine that will use microwave technology and science to extract. And it's much more sustainable, first of all, and it's quicker. So it doesn't use so much energy. And then the result, at the moment, it's hit and miss because it's new. That sometimes it gives you this amazing impression. That's just it. It smells exactly like the natural. It is the natural. But then sometimes for some ingredient like coffee beans, I didn't find it so good at all. But on raspberry and also on oranges, it is absolutely truly amazing what it can do. Because I was very lucky enough to smell the two, the impression and also the actual. And it is just mind-blowing what it can do. So moving forward, we have this new palette. So I think cologne, especially the Britologne, will give us amazing natural, pleasure in terms of our sensation, our impressions of the smell. That we're able to now to use edible on skin.
Cannot wait to see what you're gonna come up with, because I'm sure it's gonna be as delicious as all the launches that we have smelled earlier today. And I wanted to talk about the latest three. I mean,
okay.
Bravi has been my absolute obsession. And on the list today is Bold as Love, and then of course the latest, Center Stage.
Yes.
So let's dive in Bravi first.
Okay. Bravi, oh my God, it's been around already, isn't it? It's been a year.
Yeah.
It's a year old. Bravi was a celebration of friendship. It's a celebration of friendship about, post-lockdown. We were able to go to the opera house with our friends, and which I actually did, my experience. And I went with Bruno Jovanovic to a new production of Aida in the Royal Opera House with my friend Elena Stakina performing in a new production. So that was that experience. It was celebrating the Queen of the Night. Our friend being the Queen of the Night on stage. And also, Bruno and I are the divas, we are the difficult ones. We are so precious. So we are, also the Queen of the Night too. And I share that story, that experience of Bruno during the interval. And then Bruno said, why don't we put together a perfume? I said, yeah. Nobody ever talk about celebration of friendship. So why don't we do that? And he said, yeah, why don't we work on the flower called Queen of the Night? Well, you cannot extract from the Queen of the Night because it only blossoms once a year at night. So the closest that we can get is to create an accord. So Bruno decided to work on the accord using tuberose because that's the closest you can get to Queen of the Night. It smells a milky, sweet honey coated tuberose, and that was what we did to create that milkiness of the walnut. To that as our telling the world that we survive COVID, and Bravi to all of you for remaining loyal and faithful to all your friends and to friendship.
Oh, I love that. It's such a beautiful fragrance. It's such a beautiful inspiration behind it. And really, it's unlike anything else. I remember smelling it for the first time, and it's heady, it's intoxicating. There's that honey note that's, you just want to keep smelling it and keep wearing it and drenching yourself. And I know plenty of people who are on their second and third bottle, and they're just drowning themselves in it because it's so beautiful, me included. It's just a marvelous fragrance. And I think that you were one of the first people to really bring that walnut milky accord to the table. And also, there's so much conversation about honey happening at the time. So, and also the tuberose. If you are a tuberose lover, you have to get your nose on it because it's absolutely incredible. Bold as Love, however, went into a different direction. So what triggered that specific creation?
Well, Bold as Love has always been, okay, it was a dream project for me. It reunited one of my mentor perfumers, Pierre Negron. I created so many work with him, and he taught me so many things about, the industry, and also taught me a lot about creativity, because he gave me confidence in the past. He gave me confidence that I didn't have. So it was great to work together with such an amazing mentor, Pierre. The story is inspired by, again, lockdown. Oh, wow. I was working during COVID lockdown, okay? I was looking for inspirations to make it come back. No, not come back. Come back is a bad word. Return. Yeah. So I was looking for inspiration, new ways of expressing myself. So I went to the Handel and Jimi Hendrix Museum in London, which you guys can visit. It's at Brook Street, next to Claridge's Hotel. That's where George Handel, famous composer, lived. And then 200 years later, Jimi Hendrix, during his residency in London, lived in the studio above. So I saw his studio, and I was blown away a bit. To be absolutely honest with you, I don't know anything about Jimi Hendrix. And I'm not a fan. And people say, why are you doing it then? So it makes me work harder. It makes me do a lot more research to understand the man. I watched all the documentary. I watched all the concerts that were available. And so I share this with Pierre. And then Pierre said to me, Pierre taught me one very important thing. Honesty is the best policy. So no BS. And Pierre said to me, neither am I. I don't know anything about Jimi Hendrix. I said, Pierre, it's your generation. He said, don't say that. I said, Pierre, it's your generation. You should be a Jimi Hendrix fan, right? He said, well, no, but it will force us to work harder. It's a challenge. The worst is that when a project becomes autopilot, and it has happened to me before in the past, when you are in your comfort zone, when you are not in your comfort zone, it really makes you think. It really put the tension. And I feel creativity needs a bit of anxiety and tension. Yes, I know I say mental health, guys. I need mental health balance. But I find some of my best creative work has that kind of tension in it.
I like that you said to be out of your comfort zone, and to kind of just, it pushes you.
Yeah. So Pierre worked on it. And then we look into all different elements of Jimi Hendrix. And we want to focus on Bold as Love because that was recorded in London during his residency. And so Pierre came up with different elements of representing him. He was a charmer. He's a womanizer, as we all knew. And so we need something that has a kind of attraction, that charismatic attraction when you smell it. So Pierre created the apple and pineapple accord in the opening to give that joy, that instinct attraction. It's like really seductive and magnetic. And then he went into that purple was Jimi Hendrix's favorite color, so he used lavender. And then because of the metallic sound of the music, Pierre used geranium. Because geranium gives you that metallic tone, and then goes into the sexiness, the seduction of the leather and the vetiver, and then patchouli, because patchouli was a very popular ingredient of the period, and probably because of the stuff that Jimi Hendrix used too, substances which we should not talk about. So that was the entire construction of it, and it was a very, very exciting project because it forces me to do things differently. It also forced me to look at it from a different angle that I think with creativity, for me, creativity needs the tension, and you need to be very uncomfortable first to find that frustration and that angst, and you turn that into a piece of representation.
A true artist, true legend. I love how you dive into that, the inspiration, and I find it interesting that you said that you don't even, like the artist himself. Like that's definitely brutally honest, but it's so interesting because most people work from the place of oh, well, this is something I love, so this is something I'm going to pour into the bottle, into this olfactory creation. But you, of course, go a different route and throw yourself into something completely different and completely new. When you create something, do you keep in mind how do you want people to feel about the fragrance, or it's just up to them to experience it in their own way? But I wonder if you, like, when you're creating it, like, do you have a specific feeling that you want to evoke?
I want people to feel it's a new sensation that I expect people not to be able to understand it immediately. I want people to take time. I want people to take their time to give it a chance to understand it. I think what I really want to share with everyone is different experiences, olfactory experiences. Rather than giving out the same, yes, you can put out the same old tried, beautiful sensation, sweet and easy to understand and pleasing, fresh. But I find that the olfactory smelling is one art form that we don't really utilize, push far enough. We push visual, we push sound, we push taste, but do we actually talk about smells as an art form? We don't. Or a representation of it as an art form. I'm not here to be artistic. I'm here to offer people new experiences with the olfactory. And I don't expect, I'm not delusional, okay? I don't expect to be loved by everyone, or everyone say, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing you have ever done. I just hope to give people the chances that, yeah, try it. I learned one thing, things that I didn't like in the past, it's not forever. That sometimes when you get a bit older, new experiences, the physical part of inside you change. Your vision of the world, how you see the world, how you see yourself change. In the past, I said to myself, I would never do gourmand. I would never do citrus. I said, how dare you? I would never ever do citrus. But never say never.
Yeah, and then you've created masterpieces, And,
Thank you.
I love that you mentioned that you can come back to a fragrance and see it in a completely different perspective and actually fall in love. It has happened to me so many times. And I always say that when people make an opinion about fragrances, especially today when they share it publicly,
yes,
to take their time and to come back to it over and over again, different moods, different weather, different seasons, sometimes, even revisit something that you completely disliked maybe a year before, even a few years before. And most likely you'll see it in a completely different light, like you said. So I definitely agree 100%. And always test on skin, but we already know that. You're educated viewers here. But let's talk about the latest and greatest, because it's about to launch and it's one exciting launch. So let's talk about Center Stage.
That center stage belongs to you, all of you. Not me. I'm just like the background production worker in the background, and I just want to create the center stage for everyone. That it belongs to all of you. Center stage began actually last year when we started the project again with Bruno Jovanovic. Center stage, at that time, I was thinking of creating Bravi Part 2. It was about the moments that we had when Bruno came to London last year in September to support the launch of Bravi. We went to see Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club in London. It was an amazing production and I got so much inspiration from it. And during the intervals, I was talking to Bruno. I love the smell, I love this and that. And I love the period of the 1920s, the Berlin Cabaret. And then Bruno said, why don't we do a perfume? I said, yeah, I can see this. It's continuing on what we wanted to tell, the story of Bravi. We're continuing on into center stage. So I created a brief and gave Bruno the brief about the danger and the sexiness, the naughtiness of Cabaret, especially in Berlin 1920s. And that was brought to our pleasure at the Kit Kat Club as a musical. So Bruno started working on it, and then he added his own elements into it too. He added a bit of Babylon, the film. Was it? Ooh. So all the elements that we wanted to create are the key ingredients in orange blossom. Because orange blossom, with a certain amount, it have that kind of raunchy, dirty sexiness.
Oh, it does.
Okay, and then Bruno wanted to enhance that with the opening of the Mandarin and the Petit Grand. Okay, and then it goes into I push it a bit further. I say it has to be sinful. It has to be enough to make you want to sin, to be naughty. You know, you may come from a convent school. Yeah, it will bring all that inner desire out of you, just like a cabaret. So we work on the animalic accord. The animalic accord had a lipstick accord, because the lipstick is very sexy on a woman. You know, it's the main signifier for seduction. And also signify the men, how the men will fall for it because of the lipsticks and the kiss. It leaves us a mark of you. And then we wanted to focus on the fur, you know, imagine, with a strand of pearls, such that the cabaret burlesque performer and wearing a fur coat, right? And so obviously you cannot use real fur. We use costus ingredients to create that sensation. And then we added the sweetness. That's, you are seducing. So it has a vanilla of being on the path of seducing your target. Yeah, and then just like a cabaret or just in Cabaret, we needed the smokiness, the dark, woody smokiness in it. So all these are combined to create that sensation of life is a cabaret, and that we want to put you on stage as the star on center stage.
Oh, I love this fragrance. It's sparkling and it's flirtatious, but then, like you said, it has that, it's almost like layers and almost a bit of pieces of clothing slowly, pieces of like costume kind of coming off slowly and revealing these deeper layers of the human kind of nature. So it has that sexiness and then, that smokiness, like you said, it's just those later stages there. It's such a beautiful development, which you always do so well. So, you do these, you create these stages so well, and how the fragrance develops and how you conceptualize this. So this is definitely going to be a very, very popular release. I know it's gonna resonate with a lot of people. And it does seem like a continuation a little of that Bravi sultriness. So it's just in a different way to me personally, of course, to each their own, and you guys have to get your nose on it. And actually, once you try it, leave the comments and let us know what are your thoughts. And by the way, drop in the comments what are some of your favorite fragrances, because it's very important to have this feedback, and we always love to have these conversations. And I'm sure Christopher is going to be reading them as well, and it's going to be fun. But speaking of the naughtiness and speaking of all that you like to weave in, so what's in your closet? What do you reach for every single day, or do you continuously try different fragrances and we won't be able to recognize you by just one scent?
Well, I'm always working on future projects, and I only work on my own skin, so I have to use my own skin to test modifications. But I decided in August not to test future projects on my own skin. I just want to be able to enjoy one fragrance during August. And this is the truth. I didn't make it up. I've been wearing insignia every day. And I keep finding new nuances and different pleasure that I've forgotten about. And that is the thing about this job. You put out one perfume, you just don't have the chance to enjoy it yourself. You are working on projects 2 years later. So as soon as one is done, you sign it off, you probably will never see it again until a few years later. And it is such a luxury treat. I think it always means, insignia will always mean something special to me. It was my transitional period at Thameen, my first one there, and also a transitional of my previous style into something that I'm evolving. So I've been wearing a lot of insignia in August, especially during the hot weather. It gave me a different sensation.
such a beautiful fragrance with that whiskey accord and that bay leaf.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have that beautiful fig milk
Yeah.
and the balance between the whiskey and the fig milk is just it's extraordinary. And to actually transition, you know, from that, it's an interesting, you know, I like that you brought it up because it was that original blue bottle that everybody knew Thameen by.
Yes.
And then you created this new bottle, this new look that was inspired by the old Lalique bottles, I remember.
Yes.
But you kept the Thameen in the blue lettering. So it was kind of this transition to something new. But what about the cap, the color of the cap? Because I kind of liked how you... Tell us about the cap.
Well, the cap is silver, and the cap is, I wanted to, for me, it signifies something fresh, something, a new beginning, silver. Also, we did our research. Silver was Queen Elizabeth II's favorite color. And she wore, a lot of platinum. She preferred silver. And so that she was our all-time, you know, inspiration and girl power. And so, we took that inspiration from her to create the silver on the cap. And also, we created a new logo too.
Yeah.
On the cap, which is the TT, you know, looking to the left side and to the right side, meaning that, it's about how we see our heritage that we create for today, thinking of tomorrow.
I love that you were able to, you know, weave in these pieces of British history and significance into the brand that has been very, very traditional up until the point where you entered the chat and, you know, you definitely took it into a completely different direction, but yet you still kept some pieces and you paid respect to it. So I think it was very, very beautiful how you did it. Very respectful, but, you know, with your own twist.
Yes.
And, you know, to wrap up this amazing conversation, which I wish we could have for hours and hours and hours, we would have lots of coffee here and, you know, the lights would go dark, but we'd still be here. But, you know, for so many people that are inspired by your work, by the whole world of perfumery, and actually are considering jumping into this field as, you know, something that they want to be in, to create, you know, to be whichever part they choose, but specifically to, you know, to try to be creative directors, to be the perfumer, which you've worked with so many brilliant ones. What is the word of advice? Because this is, today, it's very different from 15, 20 years ago, and obviously even before that. So what are some of the words of inspiration or advice to somebody who wants to jump into this field?
Well, to be a perfumer, you have to do chemistry. Study hard. You have to do chemistry in high school. You have to do chemistry in college. You need it because it's all about the science now. It's much more so moving forward into the future. Even when AI comes in, it's all about the science. On the creative side, what I do, the only advice I can give you is live your life first. Have stories to tell. Have experiences, you know, personal experiences. And then use yourself as the key source of inspiration for your work.
That's such a great way to put it. And I just don't want to let you go because you only come once a year. Can you come more often? And we'll do this more often. You're incredible. Truly, you know, I've known you for so many years and you are incredible. So I'm so happy that we were able to sit down, that you were able to carve out some time and share this, you know, this vision, the inspiration, the stories. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. And I can't wait for all of that, and I'm sure all of you as well, for all of that you're going to continue, you know, creating and putting out into this beautiful, fragrant world, you know, because we definitely can't wait.
Thank you so much. It's been very, very exciting. And definitely it's a promise. If you will have me, yes, I will come back as much as you want to haunt you.
We'll have it all day long.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please leave in a comment, what are your favorite fragrances from Thameen, and just your thoughts, you know, any questions for future interviews. We're always here. And thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care.